Hi, I'm Jon Wylie. I'm the president of Global Natural Resources for Proudfoot Consulting. I think it's really key for the producers to get their data together, to get their information together. People are going to want to. The whole thing about natural resources and investing is risk. You have to have some transparency, and you have to be able to demonstrate how you are going to manage the risk. Innovation in technology is going to allow you or producers to reduce the cost, all-in sustaining cost of production. It's going to talk to extending the mine life by reducing cutoff grades, things like that. Those are all important when you're looking at who are you going to invest in. So the ability to utilize technology and build it into your thinking. Technology is the uptake of the technology is going to increase. It would be great to be able to look at producers and see how they're anticipating that technology growth. There's a huge learning curve that the mining industry is going through. It's interesting because the mining industry assesses itself as being one of the least technological industries, or industries with the least amount of technology. If you look at the learnings from the early adopters of technology, the areas that they've been having trouble is really on the human technology interface. It's about people and how people are accepting it. It's also a little bit about changing how the culture of the organization works. So for instance, technology allows people at the front line to make decisions, have access to data and things like that as well. It allows the people in the planning side to really make very detailed plans. There's an execution gap in mining or in natural resources. People are constantly talking about planning the work and working the plan. The planning the work and working the plan is talking about, the difficulty in execution and the difficulty in having a plan that is incredibly responsive to what's happening in the changing conditions. Technology allows better planning and, to a certain extent, better execution. The difficulty is in the culture side. The people that used to take the plan and just throw it away, but they never threw it away, but they would try the best that they could. The skills gap is more, although you can see a lot of people are retiring and we're going through that loss of talent, if you will. In a lot of cases, the talent that we're losing is we're replacing it with young and enthusiastic people that are well educated and numerate and literate. So it's, to a certain extent, we're going to need to train them up. And the way that we train them up needs to change, because the way that we currently train them is to have them go and do the job, which can be a little bit dangerous. And also, we're not necessarily optimizing that. So we have to look at how the skills that we're training outside, and it shouldn't necessarily be in the classroom. We need to be, people learn by doing. So how do we manage that? The skills that we need are we want decisions to be made at the front line or closer to the point of execution, because that's more effective. It's more efficient. And so we want those people to have data, to be able to interpret data, and to have the understanding of how to utilize that data. Now, that's not all that difficult. That's the talent that we're actually trying to replace. In the majority of cases, the guys that have been mining underground for years may not have the engineering degree, but they have the knowledge, the skills. So we have to figure out how to get the new miner training or the new people up through that skills gap really quickly, or that knowledge gap. We can give them technology to allow them to be able to jump up that gap. And as well, some of the technology that we are going to be utilizing, autonomous equipment and things like that, that's going to create another group of skills, because the person is not going to be sitting on the piece of equipment. They're going to be sitting, in front of a video screen. And how do we replace some of that? So the ability to rapidly learn and to work in a team, those are skills that we always are going to need. The equipment skills, I think, are easily replaced. The decision-making and communication skills, those are the skills that we're going to need, because we're going to make decisions much more quickly, and we're going to have to communicate that effectively. It's really sort of it's an interesting question. I think that mining needs to be much more intentional about managing its reputation. Right now, we have a group of individual actors, and generally the individual actors are working well within the communities that they're working with, and managing the stakeholders and being able to communicate, where you have clean water, you have electrification, we're bringing in skills, we're bringing in jobs, we're bringing in secondary industry. The issue isn't necessarily the 100 kilometers surrounding a mine, it's the 1,000 kilometers surrounding the mine. So what we have to figure out to a certain extent, and this is really an industry issue as opposed to a single actor issue. The industry needs to grapple with its reputation. And sure, I think bad news sells, newspapers. Good news sells newspapers too. There's lots of actually great news. There's some terrific news and some stuff about how mining is really a force for the good. It is the ability, it is one of the single most effective industries at reducing poverty and lifting up communities. It brings infrastructure, it brings electricity, it brings water, health, education, all of those types of things. So we're really, I think, to a certain extent, the mining company can look at other industries. So for instance, back in the 80s and 90s, the Industrial Chemicals Group, after they had a couple of serious knocks to their reputation, Industrial Chemicals said, we're going to implement a good neighbor policy. And we're going to do it as the chemical association. So every actor, whether they were, in Germany or in Canada or in North America, wherever, they all implemented the good neighbor policy, which was telling the neighborhood, what you're sitting next to this big chemical plant, don't worry. It's okay. And here are the things that we're going to do, not only to protect you and your kids and things like that, but these are the things that we're doing of economic value for you. The mining company, there's lots of good models out there. I think at this point in time, we just have to be intentional about that. Proudfoot has always wanted to change the consulting dynamic. The consulting dynamic right now is that you hire a consultant and you sort of turn things over to them. And then they create some value and then they give it back to you. And that becomes episodic. The next 12 months for us is really about partnering with clients to teach and train. Listen, the ideas are for free. It's the implementation that is what not only delivers the results, but that's what you should be paying for. So quite frankly, in the next 12 months, we're going to be spending an awful lot of time, because we're growing so rapidly, we need to be creating change agents within the clients. And we have a program that we do that with. And it's a very effective program. And it's terrific for us because actually the client gets better results and they own the results because they help to implement.